Hi, it's Kylie Koo. Welcome to my studio. So it's Saturday morning. It's about 10 to 8. I've been on the go since about 6:30 and most of that time thinking about my project, having a cup of coffee, got a second one here, and really just thinking through the theme of nature, because that's our theme in the Mixed Media Emporium this month. And I'll leave a link to the Mixed Media Emporium in the description box below. So in thinking about nature, I've been thinking about the things that I draw on when I'm working, and I've just pulled together a few things. Some of these I want to incorporate into my page today, but I really draw on nature a lot in my art. Now, I think sometimes when you say to some people, I use nature as my kind of muse in a sense, they expect to see a picture of a flower, a picture of rolling hills, of countryside, an animal, whatever. But the way that I use nature, I might do flowers or rolling hills or whatever, but what I'm often interested in is kind of colour, shape, pattern. And I've just pulled out a few things that, so little rocks, little stones in particular fascinate me. These type of things where these have an interesting kind of history, whatever you want to call it, around them. Sometimes these are referred to as hags' stones, witches' stones, because of their interesting patterns. The colour, all the little marks through them. This one in particular today is drawing me. It's a little bit dirty because this is one that I actually keep outside, but you can see the lines through it. But even in nature, the kind of shapes that you get that we associate with other things, so heart shape. These are stones that particularly fascinate me, with these bold lines through them. Now I know there's a name for these, but I don't know it. And these are some found objects. Now I'm not entirely certain what this came off. I think it might have been an old pyracantha that had some stems that were dying on them, that's been cut back a while ago. This is just a small piece of bark off a tree in my garden. A feather. I'm always finding feathers around the garden. A lot of birds, you might hear them in the background just now. These are just some little cards that I started to do before. Did these a while ago, I've never got around to finishing them. But these are all things inspired by nature. Here are the kind of big stones again. They'll often feature in what I do. Stones again, not necessarily the perfect shape of the stones at the time. Some of the things I won't even recall what's had my attention at the time. This one I think came just from some tall plants when I was out walking. So lots and lots of things. So today I want to do a nature page that kind of draws on some of these items. It will probably be abstract. I may incorporate these items in particular, perhaps even that. And I'm going to use some caddy paper, also known as cotton rag paper. That's what this is, and I'll cut it down to a size that I think is going to fit my piece. I may use some paints in the background. I will probably put some gesso down. By way of paints, other materials, I'll show those as I'm going along, because I often like to work intuitively when I'm doing this kind of work. So I'll probably just work away here quietly. I may just put some music on in the background for you, but I'll try and show you the items as I go along and try and show my process. Now, this project is purely for inspiration. You can do something like it, or I guess all I'm doing is suggesting that you take a look at perhaps some of the little collections that you have, or some of the things you see lying around, and look at the ways in which you can use those in your work, especially if you're doing something on nature. But doesn't, you know, I will use these in lots of different things. Not that I do a lot of space things, but I do sometimes. But you know, this type of thing reminds me of perhaps something lunar, as does this, as if it was a rock that came from the moon. So anyway, Nina will have a video this week as well, and I will leave a link to that below as well. So I hope you enjoy this project. I say quite early here, quite peaceful. I'm enjoying the sound of the birds. It's not too sunny yet, so I'm not getting a lot of light coming in, which is quite good filming wise, but the sun hopefully will be out in a little while. So yeah, hope you enjoy this. So I started with an A3 sheet of this caddy paper, and the caddy paper has, you know, those kind of rough edges, unfinished, which I really like because it's a really nice textured paper. So it was an A3 sheet, folded it, which gave me A4, and now we're down to A5 size. So just to show you, that's just under 6 inches by, oh, just under 8.5. In metric, about 15 by 21, there or thereabouts. And I just put water down where I was going to tear it, just on both sides, and it pulled away no problem, and it still gives me that nice neat edge. So excuse the state of my hands. I was doing some dyeing of things yesterday, and my hands are still not fully recovered. I still have inks and other things ingrained, so excuse that. So I'm just going to get started now. I'm going to start by putting some gesso down on this. So I'm now in editing mode. I did give you quite a long introduction today, but I just wanted to show where I draw my inspiration from a lot of time. Now I've put much of the rest of the video on at double speed just because I was working slowly, and you know, there was the best part of an hour's worth of footage, and not many people would want to sit and watch that kind of length of video. So it's on at double speed. If you do have any questions about anything I do within this or any of the products, then please do leave the question in the comments box below. I will come back on to say a brief thing about the piece I create at the end of the video, but meantime I'm just going to put some music on. Hope you enjoy. So here we have my finished piece, abstract. What does it represent? I don't know, I have my own views about it, and you may have your own views about it. I very much drew on this piece today in terms of the lines going across this particular stone, and to begin with, this stone, just in terms of its colour. I had some texture on the paper, which I suppose represented this a little bit. You know, the caddy paper is textured. I put the gesso on quite unevenly because I wanted a texture. The soft pastels that I use, they're not permanent, so I would have to put some fixative on, but I do like the fact that they will possibly continue to move a little bit depending on what I do with this. The thread suddenly became important because I needed something to hold this in place. I didn't feel glue would have done it, but it would have taken a long time. But once that was in place, I felt the need to replicate the turquoise somewhere else. And suddenly it became the base for this. And of course turquoise was the other colour that I introduced, not in any of these items, but I just felt drawn to it. I think because I'd used this piece of kind of copper wire, which I just had lying around. I'd been using that a week or so ago, and I don't know, I always feel that copper and a kind of turquoise go well together. I probably had it in my mind that I'd use these, but I started to feel that it was going to clutter the whole piece. I liked the simplicity of just this piece on its own. It feels finished at the moment, but that's not to say that I won't go back to it at some point in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, just in terms of letting you see how I use nature to influence my art. And it does come out in a lot of different ways, as I said at the start, in terms of shape, in terms of colour, in terms of texture, and also just in terms of the items that I find lying about. So if you're in the Mixed Media Emporium, I hope you have fun continuing with the theme of nature. I look forward to seeing your work. I've still got some catching up to do on some posts. Been a bit of a busy week here, just trying to get on with different things. So yeah, take your inspiration from where you find it. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe, and hope to see you again next week. Bye for now.